First, why peer review? For me, asking more and more sophisticated questions about what you read and about what you write is the best way to improve your writing. Following that line of thought, we want to give knowledgeable feedback based on our understanding of the requirements of the essay. To help you do this, I want to address peer review from three directions: letting go of your text, daring to critique, and using feedback. It's hard letting go of your text sometimes. It's still uncomfortable to me, even when I'm working on the course calendar and I can see that there are other folks in there with me, or knowing that your peers might read my comments to you and compare those to my comments to them in various ways. So beyond helping improve our writing, we're also practicing what it feels like to let go of our writing, formal scrutiny by multiple people. But we do this because that's the way the world of writing and careers works, and that is in academia and outside. When I'm in the hospital, how many people will have input into my medical chart? How many people will have had input to the records that medical staff might choose to review? In a very real sense, I, as a medical patient, exist in my medical records. I'm written by a group of people who scrutinize one another's written records. That interaction by different writers is important to my well-being. So we have to practice letting go of our writing, letting it go out into the world. But what happens when someone shares with us? Sometimes it's also difficult to give honest feedback. First, a word on tact. When someone else delivers their paper to us, we have to remember that it comes from them. It's their baby. And no one wants to hear, "Damn, what an ugly baby." Maybe more something like, "That baby would look nice in a hat." Maybe a large hat. But having said that, the point is that we have to read as a reader. We have to let the author know what we question, and we have to give advice on what the writer might do to address our concerns. One of the ways I'm trying to get you to invite others to respond is by having you list at the top of your essay 2 or 3 questions or concerns you would like for your responders to address. The best case scenario, of course, is that these are real questions or concerns that arise as you write. When they do, just pop up to the top of the essay and write them down for your peers. It's a good way to get focused help and at the same time provide entree into the paper for your peers, making it easier for them to give you more useful and tactful criticism. So here are some tips and guidelines for how we will respond to one another's writings. First, our focus is not on grammar. If you find sentences that are difficult to comprehend, difficult to understand, sure, you can point that out. But some sentence level errors will go away during rewriting, and admittedly, some new ones might show up. In any case, grammar is not the focus of peer review. Also, take your time, read and think carefully about your responses, and give substantive responses to your peers. Comment on what you like. What has your peer done well? Finally, tactfully point out what needs work, especially in relation to the assigned traits for the essay. The responses you give should point out what you see as problematic and should then give advice for how to improve. Here's one that probably won't be that helpful to the author when he or she starts to think about rewriting. Whereas a comment such as this one, it's a little meatier, has a little more nuance, and I think would be more useful in helping the author think through how to rewrite and improve the essay. And finally, what do we do when we take our text back with comments of others? Well, it is mainly our text still, even though others have inscribed on it. But you have to decide how much to take into account and use the feedback to help you rewrite. I like the term rewriting, but most writing teachers prefer the term revision and often like to hyphenate the word to emphasize a revisioning process for writing. So I hope it would be helpful to you to think about it that way. Once you have 2 sets of responses to your essay and have reviewed them carefully, do this before you start to write anything. Insert 1 comment at the top of your essay, attach it to your name, and respond to these 3 prompts: the good advice I received from my peers, what I think is working well in the paper right now, and specific things I need to do in rewriting to make the paper stronger. Writing in response to these prompts will give you a good feel about how to use the response you have received and how to get started on your rewrite. And one word of caution here. When I evaluate your essay, you will still have a chance to rewrite. Because of that, I tend to be a quite rigorous grader. And my advice for revision almost always focuses on 1 or 2 main tasks for you to work on. I found that if an essay has real issues with focus and development and organization and control of language, giving the writer 10 things to work on is more likely to cause writing paralysis than to make a much improved 3rd draft. So if the paper is not in pretty good shape when I get it, we probably will not be able to focus on everything that needs to be done in order to get it into that A or B grade range that most students seem to desire. So, give good advice to your peers, demand good advice from them, and make good use of that advice in making your best 2nd draft of the essay. So, good luck, and remember, if you have questions, text or email.